"12-year-old Tia Rigg lived in a town called Salford in Manchester. She was a popular girl amongst her friends, and she was heavily into sports, particularly football. She had 3 older siblings and 3 younger siblings, but their mother, Lynn, she had struggled to bring up the children, so the social services, they had to keep on stepping in. Now, it seemed as though Lynn, the mother, she had a problem staying off drugs, and she also had several stints in prison. It's also reported that she had attempted suicide, so it's clear that she had quite a lot of issues. Now, in spite of all of this, the children were never taken away from Lynn. Tia, at her young age, she spent a lot of time looking after her younger siblings, but she did find some solace whenever she would visit her uncle, who was 37-year-old John Maden. Now, he was a divorced dad with a child that was just 2 years younger than his niece, Tia. Now, they both shared a love of football together, particularly their favourite football team, which was Manchester United. So it's clear to see why Tia would be so keen to go to his home as often as she could. On the 3rd of April 2010, Tia's uncle requested that Tia babysit her little cousin at his home, and this was under the promise that she could watch a football game that was on television that night at his house. So Tia obliged. She got to her uncle's house late that afternoon, but he had no intentions of going out and leaving her to babysit. Oh no. His intentions were far more dark and disturbing than that, because after she had arrived at his house, he decided to drug his niece. It is unknown as to how he did it, but he used a drug called olanzapine, and this drug is an antipsychotic drug that was actually previously prescribed to John for his own mental health issues. He then sexually abused 12-year-old Tia, stabbed her, and then strangled her with his own guitar string. He then called the police to casually report that he'd murdered his niece, and told them his reasons for doing it was because he just felt like it. Officers arrived and they were stunned by his calm demeanour. John led the police upstairs to Tia's naked body. Her hands were tied behind her back, and the room was covered in blood. The police arrested him immediately and charged him with murder. John Maden started showing disturbing signs just a year before the murder. He started searching for and downloading images of children being abused. As well as that, he was obsessing over snuff films. Now, this obsession, it clearly got too much for him, so he had to turn it into a reality, which is what seems to be his motive for what he did to Tia. The autopsy was performed, and it was said that the cause of Tia's death was ligature strangulation. As well as that, she had stab wounds and internal injuries. John Maden tortured his 12-year-old niece before she died in the most unimaginable way. The police searched his home and found disturbing images and searches on his electronic devices, and it was clear he wanted to see children tortured, and it was a crime that he wanted to carry out himself. On the 6th of April 2010, John Maden appeared in court, and 2 days later he pleaded guilty for the murder of his niece. He didn't even flinch when they described the harrowing details of what he did to Tia. He was completely nonchalant in court. John Maden tried to blame the voices in his head for his actions, but the court were not convinced of this. On the 4th of October 2010, the judge sent John Maden to prison for life and said in this exceptional circumstance, John will never be released. Tia's mother Lynn blamed social services for not taking Tia away from her when they had the chance to, and she unsuccessfully tried to sue them. The council did confirm that although they could have done more, they would have not been able to remove Tia's access to her uncle because he had no history of abuse, so it really would have not made any difference at all, although they were very sorry that this had happened to Tia. John Maden never provided the rest of Tia's family with an explanation over what he did, so they were left enraged and completely dumbfounded as to why he suddenly turned into a monster. John has plenty of time now to think about his actions, but one thing that is apparent, he has no regrets over what he did, so clearly he's where he belongs for the rest of his life.